hall meetings.
So you bringing up substance is something that I think is really crucial to this next topic that we're going to talk about. Governor Cuomo's quote-unquote plan to help preserve, and I believe Senator Rich Funke also wanted to see a plan or proposed a $3 million plan to quote-unquote save Finger Lakes Gaming and Racetrack. So part of the Cuomo plan would bring, I believe, $440,000 from Del Lago, and it would be a payment to them to sort of ease their purse deficit and their overall financial woes that they've been experiencing. This is why I said in the beginning, government interference where it isn't really necessary. One of the things that I found really interesting was that in talking to people who frequently go to Finger Lakes or are, I'll say, passionate about the horse racing industry, there's been a decline, an overall decline. It didn't just happen because Del Lago opened. Right. It's been happening. It's been a slow process, and it's been happening over the last, say, 5, 10, 15 years. So his plan cuts about half of the so-called loss that they would be seeing because of Del Lago. They expect to see between like a 30 and 40% decrease in their revenues because of it. Now, they say, and one of the organizations supporting the horsemen and the racers themselves, they say that it doesn't go far enough,
right?
And that there needs to be more. And I just think to myself, if the best you can do, policy-wise, is write a check,
right?
if
right.
that's your defense mechanism,
yep,
you're missing the mark. You're not actually doing anything substantial. And I've written about this. My last few columns in the Finger Lakes Times have sort of circled. I feel like I've been writing the same column over and over again because more times than not, I feel like I'm getting into this scenario where I'm saying, okay, they're coming up with this really simple Band-Aid fix, and they're applying it, and the Band-Aid's just going to fall off in like a year or two. And then you're going to be back in the same boat you're in now. So I'm wondering, from your perspective, what does it take to get people from the sort of all for show to the substantial stuff that needs to happen to fix these problems?
Well, I mean, I think what it really takes are engaged residents of an area who say, we're not going to put up with, like, we can see what you're doing. We see that this is just flashy show. Why didn't you think about this when these gaming commissions were set up and doing this location analysis? And why wasn't there a plan? Like, anyone could have seen the writing on the wall about what was going to happen as far as the gaming. The racetrack issue aside, because I think that has been an issue that I have some strange familiarity with, but I think now for over 20 years, there's been an issue with owners and trainers going to different tracks with higher purses, with different jockeys. I mean, that's been an issue.
Right.
So the gaming portion was introduced initially to try to keep the entire operation afloat. Introducing another gaming operation within a driving radius that overlaps obviously was going to be kind of the death knell for the Farmington operation. So there were people during the proposal process who were asking this question, who thought that the seeker review for Del Lago should have included the economic impact and a remediation strategy and a plan. Now it appears, based on this current plan, that although it wasn't publicly discussed and vetted as part of the approval process, there was probably I don't think this is bad to say. I was figuratively a wink and a nod that there was going to need to be some assistance given from Del Lago to Finger Lakes Gaming Racetrack. But again, the government brokering a deal in that way when it already put in place kind of the systemic issue that caused the problem in the first place, like you said, it is a Band-Aid. I mean, that's not a long-term solution.
Okay, so here's you saying that actually just reminded me. So I think my issue with it is that you have a situation where, using stores as an example, you have one store who's struggling to stay afloat, and then another unrelated store opens up near it, and because it opened, some people are going to automatically blame that for being the reason why the first store ultimately closes. Right. But they're doing two different things. Aside from the slot machines, they're right. Two different businesses. And the reason why, we're going back to this, the reason why the Farmington operation is failing is because they just aren't ponying up. Yeah, see, I did that on purpose.
We both have come up with some catchy phrases tonight, bud.
And, I look at it as you're punishing Del Lago. You're punishing them for being the nearest neighbor, basically.
Well, I mean, it's hard for me to consider them a victim given kind of the very robust assistance that they have received in a variety of ways to open. So I don't really see them as the victim. But what I'm saying is that if the governor or other state legislators and this commission who were locating these facilities didn't take seriously at the time. So the argument for introducing gaming in this way at all was some economic development argument, which I have to say I didn't follow. Like it never really made sense to me because, well, there's a whole variety of reasons.
Well, what was Cuomo's quote there? I believe it was somebody in Albany tweeted it out, but he basically said they finally got him on the record saying something along the lines of, I don't love gaming or gambling or casinos, but we need jobs.
Right, yeah.
So, yeah.
So I think if that was the idea, then for that group not to have taken a holistic look at the area they were locating and how there would be some transfer of both visitors and employees and other resources from one to the other, I don't know. I just feel like that was short-sighted. But I'm not saying that is the only reason that Finger Lakes is in trouble right now. But I guess it's one of those, what do you expect? I guess it goes back to the theme of the week, right? Why are we surprised?
Well, and I would also say that I would like to see I think I would be more comfortable with the idea of creating a plan like that where they're all sort of working together if more time had passed between when Del Lago opened and when Finger Lakes started to expect some of this assistance. Because, it's one of those situations where nobody knows what the numbers are actually going to look like for Finger Lakes until it's done, until it's over with. And, give it a year or two before you start jumping into we need to push money one way or another,
right.
Yeah,
I don't.
Because here's the other thing that nobody's talking, or few people are talking about. Del Lago could underperform.
Right.
In their first calendar year. You just don't know. Time is uncertainty. You don't know how things are actually going to play out. So just something that, I don't know, maybe should have been given a little more time before our political bosses jump in.
I agree with you.
So this is, our next topic is actually, I think, my favorite.
I'm waiting to see what's going to pop up on the screen here.
This is one